Did you know this one major factor is the main reason why 85% of people can't make a good cup of coffee? This is a very common challenge, but you shouldn't worry. In this video, I'm going to share with you everything that I've learned about coffee grinding and coffee grind size. For the 5 years I've worked as a barista, I'm going to explain everything in the simplest way possible, that even a beginner barista, after this video, you will be able to know how you can adjust your coffee grinder like a pro barista. If you're using a long grind size while making your shot of espresso, this is going to result into a sour, bitter, or a weak in taste of your shot of espresso. To fix this, you're going to need to adjust your coffee grinder so that you can be able to grind the perfect grind size, which will enable you have a good extraction of your espresso. It's not only about espresso, but any other coffee brew method that you're using, you're going to need to know how you can adjust your coffee grinder so that you can be able to have a perfect grind size, which is going to enable you to brew a good cup of coffee. First step I'm going to share with you are the two keywords that are used to define the grind size of coffee particles: coarse grind size and the fine grind size. These two words used to confuse me a lot as a beginner. Most of the time, if you're a beginner, you will brew a shot of espresso, take it to your senior or head barista so that he can evaluate your shot of espresso. If my shot was under extracted, he used to advise me to go on the coffee grinder so that I can adjust my coffee on a fine grind size. This meant I needed to adjust my coffee grind particles onto a smaller size. This is when you go on the coffee grinder and adjust your dial on a fine grind size. And some other time he would say my espressos were over extracted. He would advise me to go and adjust my coffee grind settings on a coarse grind size. This meant I needed to increase on the size of coffee grind particles so that I can be able to meet the ideal extraction of my shot of espresso. On every grinder you will find these two words. Coarse means the bigger particles of your coffee grinds, and fine means the smaller particles of your coffee grinds. This is going to also include numbers that are going to guide you in the process while you're adjusting your coffee grinder. So if you're adjusting these particles, you're going to need to follow the numbers that are indicated on your coffee grinder dial. You might be asking yourself, how do you know if you're not having the ideal grind size for making your shot of espresso or brewing any other coffee? First step, you're going to need to come up with a brew ratio. It will include the dose, the yield out, and the brew time. The brew time is the one which is very important because it will indicate to you whether you're having a good grind size or a bad grind size. Whenever you're not achieving the perfect brew time of that brew ratio, this means you're having a problem with your coffee grinder settings. So you're going to need to adjust your coffee grinder so that you can meet the perfect brew time of your coffee. Just a quick disclaimer, coffee grinding is not the only factor that you need to consider. First thing, you need to have freshly roasted coffee beans, which are ideal for making a good shot of espresso. The next thing, you need to make sure your coffee grinds are well distributed in your pot filter and evenly tamped. This is going to enable you to have an even extraction of your espresso. If you have these two key things perfectly done, our next step, I'm going to show you how you can adjust your coffee grinder in real time so that you can be able to master how you can get your perfect grind size without guessing but being like a professional barista. We're going to start by grinding small amount of coffee beans so that we can know which size of particles are we having considering the setting that we have set on our coffee dial. After grinding and knowing which particles we are having, then we can move in for our second step, and this is adjusting the coffee grinder settings. So if the coffee particles are small, move the coffee grind dial on a coarser grind size. Do this by increasing the number that is indicated on the coffee dial. If it's not your ideal size, adjust it again until you get the right grind size for the perfect extraction of your espresso. is one thing that you need to note and keep in mind. This is not only about espresso extraction, but understanding how you can adjust your coffee grinder settings. It's going to be very useful no matter which coffee brew method you're using. You will need to know how you can adjust your coffee grinder setting, and you can use these same steps that I'm showing you on an espresso machine and use it on any other coffee grinder that you're using to grind your coffee beans for brewing your perfect cup of coffee. Same applies. Sometimes you're going to check your coffee grinder and you're going to find your coffee particles being very big. This means you're having a coarse grind size. To fix this, we're going to follow the same steps, but we are going to be adjusting our coffee dial on a fine grind size. We're going to follow the same steps by decreasing the numbers until you can reach the perfect extraction of your espresso. You can do this over and over again until you can have a good extraction. A common mistake I see with most of the beginners is trying to memorize the numbers on the coffee grinder dial, thinking they will achieve the same result since they are following the same number that is on the coffee dial, not knowing whenever someone adjusts the bars inside your coffee grinder, this will change also the settings on the numbers on the coffee grinder. Without good knowledge about coffee grinding and how you can adjust your coffee grinder settings so that you can be able to achieve the perfect grind size, this is going to prevent you from making a good cup of coffee. One other thing that you should know about coffee grinders: not all coffee grinders are the same. Some coffee grinders are designed to grind coffee for all the coffee brew methods. Like the EK grinders, these are the grinders that can grind all the different grind size, from a Turkish coffee, which is the most fine grind size, to a cold brew, which is the most coarse grind size. There are also coffee grinders that are only designed for the manual brew methods. These can only grind coarse grind size or medium to coarse grind size, and the most common one being the espresso coffee grinder. These are designed for only espresso, but any other coffee brew method that you're using, you're going to need to know how you can adjust your coffee grinder. Here's a video to guide you through the different parts of the espresso grinder and the different functions so that you can be able to use these coffee grinders and make a good cup of coffee.